MADFERRY.com.
Rick's Tree and Stump Removal provides tree care services in the Northland. Their certified arborists offer tree trimming, removal, and stump grinding for residential and commercial properties. More information at rickstreeduluth.com.
I think the most important thing to do is start out small. And when you're comfortable with having the area, the small area, the way you like it, then start expanding. Take advice from people who garden and people at the garden centers, but also listen to yourself. If it's a plant you love and you love where you plant it, you're going to love your gardens. Don't worry about being too perfect about them. Sometimes it being a little bit of a hot mess is a good thing. One other thing I'd like to say, and I see this a lot at the greenhouse, is people tend to come in and they only want to buy a perennial that's in bloom. And if you do that, then you're only going to get the things that bloom that day. Either come to the greenhouse different times during the year or look at things that are not in bloom during that time period. It's really important to me to have things kind of coming and going at all times. And that's what I kind of call it as staging. I always want little pops of color coming and going at all times. Then you don't have to worry about the fact that a peony only blooms for 2 months or a lily for 10 days because something else is taking the stage for it.
The Madeline Island Ferry, transporting passengers, bicycles, and vehicles between Bayfield, Wisconsin and Madeline Island, while our customers enjoy the beauty of Lake Superior and views of the Apostle Islands. Ferry schedule and information available at MADFERRY.com.
Rick's Tree and Stump Removal provides tree care services in the Northland. Their certified arborists offer tree trimming, removal, and stump grinding for residential and commercial properties. More information at rickstreeduluth.com.
So we started square foot gardening. The purpose of square foot or small container gardening is to get more produce out of a smaller area. And we started doing it about 10 years ago, and now we have 6 garden beds, and it really reduces our carbon footprint for one, and it also, it keeps us healthier by having homegrown foods. The first bed is beans and peas. They both climb up the trellis, and it produces enough to can beans, and I don't can peas, but to have fresh peas all summer long. The second bed is garlic, both soft and hardneck garlic, that you plant in the fall and cover, and it actually starts growing in winter. And then we plant romaine lettuce in between the garlic, and the garlic protects the romaine from insects, and then put watermelon radish also in that bed. Then the other beds, we have tomatoes, and we always put French marigolds in our gardens. It also keeps insects away. Basil and tomatoes, basil and peppers are real good companion plants. So I put them together. Then you have tomato basil soup in one garden bed. The other bed we have potatoes and bok choy, and we have hanging baskets of mixed greens and microgreens and bunching onions, and then a tub of carrots. So almost anything you'd need in a grocery store. There's nothing like fresh grown food.
The Madeline Island Ferry, transporting passengers, bicycles, and vehicles between Bayfield, Wisconsin and Madeline Island, while our customers enjoy the beauty of Lake Superior and views of the Apostle Islands. Ferry schedule and information available at madferry.com.
Rick's Tree and Stump Removal provides tree care services in the Northland. Their certified arborists offer tree trimming, removal, and stump grinding for residential and commercial properties. More information at rickstreeduluth.com.
I think the most important thing to do is start out small. And when you're comfortable with having the area, the small area, the way you like it, then start expanding. Take advice from people who garden and people at the garden centers, but also listen to yourself. If it's a plant you love and you love where you plant it, you're going to love your gardens. Don't worry about being too perfect about them. Sometimes it being a little bit of a hot mess is a good thing. One other thing I'd like to say, and I see this a lot at the greenhouse, is people tend to come in and they only want to buy a perennial that's in bloom. And if you do that, then you're only going to get the things that bloom that day. Either come to the greenhouse different times during the year or look at things that are not in bloom during that time period. It's really important to me to have things kind of coming and going at all times. And that's what I kind of call it, is staging. I always want little pops of color coming in.
I like the way they lay them out. They're not just straight lines anymore.
Blueberries will take about 5 years for a bush to ripen before you can get a viable fruit crop off of it.
That this is the coneflower and very popular with bees.
This is a weeping larch, deciduous, so it'll turn golden in the fall.
The variety that we have, it's inspiring.
Hello, and thank you for joining us tonight for Great Gardening. I'm Sharon Young. We've had some snow melt since last week's show, so we're getting even closer to getting outside to plant and landscape. As always, we have our garden experts with us tonight. They are garden professionals Deb Burns-Erickson and horticulturist and educator Bob Olin. We want to hear from gardeners across our region who have questions for them. We have phone volunteers comprised of members of the St. Louis County Master Gardeners standing by. Call locally at 218-788-2847 or simply email us at ask@pbsnorth.org. We're taking questions throughout the show, so call or email us now while we start tonight with a look at our weather in the region.
The snow is going away.
Nice. Are we all looking for a little green at this point?
Absolutely.
Seed heads. There's some snow.
I think we know why we really enjoy that spring and why we're all gardeners. The winter can get long sometimes. Just wants to hang on for a little bit here, but it can change very fast this time of year.
Very, yeah. It's the snow, the buckets. Easier driving.
It's beautiful. All the ice is gone from the lake almost.
Yeah, that scene in about 2 weeks is going to be totally different.
Right. There's the trees.
Buds are still tight, so people can still do some pruning. You can see that. Yeah.
Keep calling in your questions. And before we get to those, Deb, do you have a terrarium demonstration to kick off things tonight?
I do have a terrarium. So this is a fairy terrarium, and I just makes it fairy because I add some lights to it, but it kind of gets it a little bougie-ish. But anyway, so it's not hard to do a terrarium. And what I want people to really think about is all of their, I'm sorry about this, but they have junky looking succulents. And so this is people's pride and joy, this succulent that to me just looks not great, right? And so what you can do after a long winter and it's kind of sad, then we can start to cut the succulents. But first we're going to start with the terrarium. So I line mine with and I use a glass bowl, and you can really find these, they're not that expensive. I mean, this one was like $12.99. So it's not hard to do, but you can use other things that you have laying around. I like a clear glass on mine. So you start with some stones in the bottom, and that's good for drainage and so that the roots don't all hit the water. But the great thing about succulents, and you hardly have to water them. They're much more forgiving than any kind of houseplant terrarium where you have to keep the moisture or you have to keep a top on it. So I use our soil, which is just a peat, and then I add vermiculite to it, and then I'll just add it to the bottom of my terrarium, and just to cover the soil and to make a good base for the plants. And you can choose, like I'm going to do cuttings. I'm going to show you some cuttings, but also if you have some small planters that they're not always, I mean, this is fine, but you can pull these guys out just like that, and then you can just set it in and just barely set it. And then we have an aloe. I'm pretty sure there's an aloe down here, right here. I like using aloes. They're easy, they're medicinal, and they are a nice centerpiece. So that is again rooted. You can pull it out, and this one's really dry, but that's the beauty of them. You don't have to put a whole lot of moisture in them. They don't require a lot. And then you stick it right in the middle to give you some nice volume, and then the sides will help support it. Just like that, nothing to it. And then when you have, like this is a jade, and you can just cut now. Okay, I'm gonna cut these off, and then I'm gonna put them in there, and then at the end I'm gonna show you after a month what happens. So this is, I like to put things in groups of 3. And so I'll take 1, 2, 3 cuttings. Well, there's 3 on that one. So you can just stick that right in. And that's all you have to do with it. It's really nothing to it. And then this one here, you can do the same thing. And because succulents are so forgiving, these succulents will break all the way down with smaller ones that are going to come in. And so then I like to just take these in, and I'm going to just stick them in. And this is all I'm going to do. There's not that big a deal. And that one's good. And we'll get rid of that one. And then we'll take like this one, and then I'll take some other cuttings off of this. Because this is, again, super simple. And it keeps your plants tidy. And then you're going to put in, I'll put in 3. I could take more off. I could even cut off of this other terrarium that I've done. And then this one, which I'm going to pull this up. Sorry. So this one, Zwartop Nemani, is interesting because I'm going to cut the top off, and I'm going to stick it in, and then the whole bottom is going to break. So then you're going to finish up, and you can finish up by adding a few more things, or you can leave it like it is. And to me, the thing that really makes it kind of fun and kind of different is then adding fairy lights to it. And you can get fairy lights all over, and you just put them in, and then there's a little battery on it. Pull the tab, and turn on the battery, and then you just have a really cute terrarium, and it's just a little bit of an update. And this one I planted on the 8th, last time we were supposed to do it, and it's all fully rooted in. So that's a month after, or the 18th, Bob, you said. Yeah. The 18th we did that, and it was all fully rooted in. So pretty simple, and it's just kind of a nice update.
That's beautiful.
You know, that's excellent, Deb. Succulents, they don't need much moisture because you don't want a lot of water because
Right
there's
on.
the drainage. Right?
I watered this once since I did it.
Talk about
a month ago.
Low care,
maintenance.
no maintenance. Excellent.
Exactly right.
Thanks, Deb. That was awesome. Now let's get to some of your questions. Jan from Cool K wants to know why her hydrangeas bloom, why they won't bloom.
Oh.
And they're blue.
That's why.
Oh, that's why. Do tell.
Okay.
Well, we have some hydrangeas that gave us a little trouble. It's very interesting because I think she might be referring to the endless summer, or endless bummer.
Yeah.
It actually was a father plant of this great series that has been developed since, and many of them bloom a little bit better. One thing I've observed: if things just won't bloom, try moving the location. Sometimes you're killing them with kindness. I've seen them move to poorer soils and less sun, and suddenly they begin to break and begin to bloom. But if they're not blooming after several years, you want to try to move them or switch varieties. Some will bloom a lot more readily than some others.
Right. And then the buds are not as hardy on those at all.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Julie from Duluth is asking if she needs to put topsoil over fill dirt if she wants to plant Dutch white clover in the area.
I think if you want to grow anything, you're going to have to put some good
I would agree.
topsoil over the top. You're not
Topsoil,
gonna
subsoil. Subsoils just don't have the organic, they just don't have the nutrient composition. And remember, a clover does fix nitrogen, but it has to grow first.
Yeah.
So it has to have the
germinate
nitrogen
somehow.
in the soil to begin with. So you
Sure.
need good soil. Put the topsoil on over any subsoil.
That makes sense. Kate from Duluth asks, can I prune my aronia choke cherry trees? They are getting very large, or will that ruin this year's crop?
You know, I think they've set buds already. I was looking at mine at home, and because we have the carryover, and I'm seeing buds on those. So I would wait until they fruit, and then I would shape them. I just like to wait till things flower, fruit, and then shape.
And that is choke berry rather than choke cherry. So she's really not talking about a tree here. She's talking about the shrub aronia choke berry.
Okay. Gary from Crook wants to know, what are good vegetables to grow in Duluth with our unpredictable weather?
Right? Isn't all the weather unpredictable?
All the time.
It seems to be. But vegetables, he wants something probably, right? Is that what he asked? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Something hardy. I mean, you can do, like, if you want to do some of the cold crops, they're super easy to germinate. They're very flexible.
What are some cold crops? Give me an example.
Broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage. Those guys are really easy to
What
do.
if you don't like those?
Well,
I love them.
Develop a taste for them.
I love them.
I mean, you can do tomatoes. Tomatoes are easy too, and again, people kind of baby them sometimes too much, and they get tall, and they'll get away from people. But tomatoes aren't really very difficult to grow either.
And the nice thing about the cabbage family, double crop them. You get a nice crop in July, you get a real nice crop in the fall. They're frost resistant, and also in the spring of the year, all your lettuce group.
Oh, yes.
Because they are,
Right now.
lettuce is frost tolerant, spinach is not. You have to cover that, but nonetheless, the lettuce will take a lot of that frost too. Carrots, any of the salad greens will do real well.
Good. Thanks. Next, we're serving up some berries. Let's head to a farm in Wrenshall where they're growing a delicious variety of that fruit. Always mindful of the big lake nearby.
I like them all right off the field. I don't want them in the refrigerator. I don't want them cooled down. I want them right at field temp. And to have both honeyberries and blueberries and strawberries, they've alternate enough in seasons that you can focus on maintaining one, and then picking one and maintaining the other, and then so there's kind of fruit throughout the entire season. My name is Brett Amundsen. I am the farm manager for Farm Lola. I also work with locally laid egg company here in Wrenshall, Minnesota. We are still under the influence of Lake Superior and that kind of microclimate that we get around that Great Lake. And so it keeps our temperatures here, especially in the springtime, keeps them a little bit lower, which allows the plant to ripen at a more steady pace. It's a great medium to work in with plants because as you transplant them and move them around, it's an easier soil to work with when it's a little sandier like that. Today we'll be out here in the Patriots. So this variety is the Patriots for our blueberries. And they'll come out and we'll assign them a row or a section of a row to pick. Blueberries will take about 5 years for a bush to ripen before you can get a viable fruit crop off of it. So generally we planted in 2014 and we started seeing some of our first harvests commercially for the public to come out. We have about 800 bushes, about 2 acres total in blueberries. And so it depends on the volume of picking, how long we'll go. But it's, we pick them in stages. For this particular blueberry orchard, we planted this in 2014. Generally, all of our bush inventory come as rooted stock, and so they'll be either potted stock that'll be a little bit older, or they'll just be sprig stocks in little starter trays. Honeyberries are much more cold tolerant. They'll handle below zero weather much more effectively than the blueberry bushes do. Part of that is their genetics. They are native to northern Siberia, northern Japan, northern climate areas like that. Their growth cycle is such that they know that they have a short, cold season to work with, and so they're first to berry. They berry much earlier than blueberries. They handle heavy snowpack really well. Those bushes were just, the honeyberry bushes were just flattened, but in the spring they bounced right back. In terms of yield, we have some honeyberry bushes that have yielded 9 to 10 pounds from one bush. Strawberries obviously are a low ground plant versus the domesticated blueberry bush. The strawberries themselves, All the berries, have certain water needs. Strawberries do need a little bit more watering and attention to the volume of water that they're getting over the course of time. You're going to have to replant and redo your strawberry fields every 3 to 4 to 5 years, depending on how you want to do it. Other than replacing some die-off or other injury, once the bush is in the ground, your hardest work is kind of done. I would recommend, obviously, the berries that you enjoy, first and foremost. Blueberries and honeyberries, they take up a little bit more square footage on the ground than a strawberry does. It really does just come down to what you and your family, your household is willing to eat and invest in. I'd advocate for all the berries that you can.
Those at Farm Lola say that honeyberries are usually ripe at the very end of June or early July, making it one of the first harvests in the Northland. Now, time to answer more of your questions. We have a viewer that wants to know if they can use a thrift store aquarium for a terrarium.
Oh, absolutely. That would be perfect. I mean, you could do so much in there. It'd be great.
We even used quart jars.
Oh, sure.
And that one,
yes.
that was even cheaper than
Yeah, absolutely.
Kristen and Jay from Duluth want to know about getting soil tested for gardening. They're not sure where to start.
Oh.
The University of Minnesota.
Yeah, take a good sample as soon as you can in the spring now, and you'll get your results back by the time we're going to plant. But I think really a certified lab, University of Minnesota, University of Wisconsin, if you like, but something that's certified so you get at least one good result. Just Google that.
Okay.
U of M soil test lab, University of Wisconsin soil test lab. All the instructions are there, the current fee schedule, but definitely worth doing.
Okay. Jay would also like to know what to put in the soil for helping the plants grow.
That's what the soil test will tell you. It's
That's
going to
right.
tell you their application rates and what to use. That's what's great about it.
If you're deficient in organic, if you're deficient in any one of our phosphorus or potassium, it'll give you recommendations, and then you go from there. I'll just put it that way.
Labs for your soil, right?
You get started that way.
Yeah. Organics usually.
Cindy from Duluth wants to know if the deer have eaten the ends of her hydrangea plant. Will it bloom this year or ever? She planted it last fall.
Again. It will bloom. But I would ask her, when did it bloom last year? Because that's going to tell you. If it bloomed like mid to late summer, it will bloom again this year. But if it generally blooms a little bit earlier, then you're not going to get, because they would have gotten all the buds off. But there's many different hydrangeas. They bloom at different times all the time now. And so then you just have to pay attention to when they're setting their buds.
That's right.
Okay. Pam from Duluth is asking, what is the best way to prune an apple tree? And what plants grow best with our short growing season?
Okay,
People want efficiency today. They
Yeah,
want efficiency.
We'll take a crack at the apples. Good time to prune it. Young trees we always prune for a central leader and lateral branches, and that's critical for long-term strength. If you've got a more mature tree, then it's a little bit different, where you're going to be pruning maybe over a 3-year period. Anything that's rubbing, anything that's damaged, of course, you're going to start by taking that out. Anything that's growing to the interior of the plant, we want to open up a mature tree so that the sunlight begins to penetrate, and then always prune back to a major stem or a bud. If you're going to prune back to a bud, prune the opposite side, get that bud to grow to the outside. So 2 different concepts, but this is the ideal time. New material and then mature material that needs to be opened up.
Very good. And then do you recommend any plants that grow best with our short growing season?
Well,
so are we talking vegetable plants, or short season, any plants?
Our season is short, but we get plenty of light, so I don't think you want to let that stop you at all.
You. That's absolutely
Other than some of the warm season crops, I think you can grow just about anything, and you can get a much higher quality because during the day we got plenty of sunlight, cooler nights, and that holds the sugars. So I think we don't have to take a back seat to anything. Try everything except maybe some of the warm season crops, which are a little bit of a challenge, melons and so forth.
And grow what
you can
like,
grow them.
Right? Just grow what you like.
Grow what you like, and you can grow
eat.
just about anything. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Good tips. Okay, Bob. So you are wanting to share something with us tonight that has you digging beneath the surface.
Well, a lot of people will be considering starting their own seed right now, and I think it's always, for many people, it's a good option. Starting is not difficult. The big thing that I see is you want a good starting media. You don't want to use a potting soil because a potting soil typically will contain synthetic fertilizers. So all you need to start them, remember, the energy's in the seed, so you need good drainage. You need to hold some moisture. It needs to be not perfectly sterile. We've got sterile in quotes here because you just don't want the pathogens there. Peat and so forth isn't sterile, but it's free, pathogen free. And then the critical thing is no synthetic fertilizers. So you want to get a seeding media that's going to be different than a growing media, which you're going to transplant into. Good components of a seeding media, I've used all of these. I've used them in combination. I've used them alone. I've started even with just sharp sand and I can seed. But I'd much rather start with vermiculite, perlite, peat moss, and then we'll talk a little bit about these fungi called mycorrhiza. If we can take a little look at some of these components, we'll touch on mycorrhiza in a moment, but I'd like to just show some of the components that go into a good seeding mix. And if we can see this, this is vermiculite. Incidentally, it's a mineral. These are all natural materials. This was mined and expanded to about 1400 degrees. This is a material, it's like a fool's gold.
Yeah, it's shiny. It's
shiny, and it will actually hold the moisture. So it's got a webbed structure, and that's one of the components we certainly can use. Another is perlite. You mentioned this. You use that quite a bit with your peat. This again, this is a soda ash that is actually expanded at about 1400 degrees. It's popped, so it's actually a mineral that's been popped and then ground. And this actually provides aeration for you. And then native to this area, we've got our peat moss. Now this is different than a peat. The peat's the lower part of the bog. This is what's actually plant material. It's been vacuumed off the upper portion. It is, it's pathogen free, so it isn't sterile, but it's really a very, very good media. And then you can just mix them all together. And when you mix these together and make up your own mix, you don't have any synthetic fertilizers in there at all. You get a nice mix like this. You might use 2 parts peat moss to 1 part vermiculite, 1 part vermiculite, and 1 part perlite. Mix them together, you've got a good seeding mix. If you're having trouble wetting this, remember warm water will wet this much more easily than cool weather with. So just a little tip there. Now you've got a good media, you're ready to go. Now the interesting phenomena, we've got mycorrhiza, which I mentioned before, and we'll take just a little look at that. This is something that's been with us forever. It's a natural fungi that occurs actually in forested areas. And it comes from that word. I always have trouble spelling that, but I think I got that right there. Myco stands for fungi. Rhiza stands for roots. So we've got mycorrhizae. And it's actually an extension of the plant's root system. And it develops a truly symbiotic relationship between the plant's roots and the fungi. The plant, the mycorrhizae, the fungi, and we've got another diagram of that to show you this. We've got the green plant on the upper portion of the soil there working its way down. We've got the roots. The mycorrhiza is that very fine web there that's actually pulling water. It's pulling nutrient off the soil particles, and it's carrying it right into the cellular structure of the roots. And in return, it gets its carbohydrate or its energy from that green plant. So it's truly a symbiotic relationship where they're both working well together. Now, this was in naturally occurring, and we're seeing it being added to many, many mixes right now, and I think it's very beneficial. Here's an example where mycorrhiza is in there. You can also buy it powdered. You can add it to your own mix, and I believe you use it, and you're a believer. Yep. So most of us in the commercial industry have become big believers in the use of mycorrhiza, very effective fungi. They can be very beneficial for seeding, and it's not a salt like a lot of the fertilizer components are. It's very natural.
Excellent. Thanks, Bob. Let's get to some more of your questions. Carol wants to know, what dwarf cherry tree do you recommend for a Hermantown location?
I'm not a fan of dwarf, just because of where we live, and dwarf rootstocks are just not as hardy as standard rootstocks. So I'm not pro dwarf.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
what do you say, Bob?
Well, the one thing that comes to mind is the Nanking cherry, which is a shrub.
It's a shrub.
It's a shrub, so there's the ultimate dwarf. So if they want something that's ultimately dwarf, try a Nanking. They've been around forever, and they're going to be a really nice smaller cherry. We're not going to get the great big cherries here, but there are any number of them. Wasabi's one that's been around for a while, North Star. You can use all of these, but I would agree not necessarily on a dwarf. A semi-dwarf or a standard is going to be hardier for us. We're talking really about hardiness with cherries, hardiness of the root system. So stay really with a semi-dwarf, or even better, plant them on a standard rootstock. That's the tree form. But you can't go wrong with the Nanking. A little smaller, but it's always going to be nice and hardy
It's
for
very
you.
pretty too.
Yeah.
Very nice. So Nick wants to know, what do we do about indoor plants and fungal gnats?
Well, okay. So we have a greenhouse, and sometimes we do get some fungus gnats and things. But we do use, and some people disagree with using the mosquito bits. And what's that? What is that?
Bacillus. Yeah, it's a Bacillus thuringiensis.
Yes,
yeah.
thank you, Bob.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I use that on. We have a big area, and so I can run it through injectors. I just put it into my water solution, and I water wherever I might have a problem. And it's great because wherever you water, then it hits.
Right. Good point. Now, point of clarification: if you see it jumping on the surfaces on your plants, it's not a fungus gnat. That's springtail or calumbella. Now, the interesting thing is springtail is an annoyance, but it doesn't really damage the plant. Fungus gnats are down in the soil, and they can actually damage the plant. But in both cases, you can try these bits, the organic material, or if it really becomes a problem, there are drenches, pesticide drenches, which you can buy over the counter, but they need to be done outside when the temperatures warm up. With one quick treatment, and you can eliminate both fungus gnat and springtail. Yeah.
Okay. Alex from Duluth has a collection of cups and would like to plant some small plants in each one for indoors. What would you recommend?
Succulents. Succulents all day long. They're so simple, they're so easy, and they just multiply. Just don't overwater them in your teacup, and don't overbaby them. Don't be worried about putting on water roots or air roots. You can put on soil roots, actual soil roots, by just sticking it directly into the soil.
That's great. And peperomia, I love that word.
Yes, yeah.
It works well in a terrarium, not so good on your pizza.
No, it would not be good on the pizza. The plant
That's peperomia rather than pepperoni.
Brad from Duluth wants to plant tomato seeds in a greenhouse. Okay. When should he start?
Right now. It's a good time. Between now and certainly the end of April, and then you're going to have enough time. You want at least 5-6 weeks to grow them out. He could have started a little bit earlier, but he's not at all behind because you have to maintain them at this point, and we're not going to set them out until early June. So it's good to go right now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. And of course, a special thank you to our gardening experts, Deb Burns-Erickson and Bob Olin, for sharing their expertise. We invite you to join us at 7 p.m. next Thursday for more tips and inspiration. Until then, have a wonderful evening.
So we started square foot gardening. The purpose of square foot or small